Enlightenment, don't know what it is.
Darkness to light, you are not alone. Dear ones, I find it always true to say that being a part of an Enlightenment Intensive is a blessing whose rewards are the experience of spiritual renewal. And, of course, it is also a very challenging experience at times. I often ask participants at the very start of the Enlightenment Intensive, who amongst you had thoughts of not wanting to be here? That is, of wanting to leave even before you got here. Most often, about a third of the people admit that they had those kinds of thoughts. And often, there's usually one or more participants who confess that after their last Enlightenment Intensive, they said to themselves, "I'll never do that again." But, alas, they show up again and again. What is it about the human spirit that keeps one showing up again and again, even to an Enlightenment Intensive, and even though it can be quite difficult and a rigorous challenge? Is it the experience that their suffering has been diminished by the process? Is it the experience that their mental and emotional obstacles have begun to dissolve away? Is it their increased capacity and expanded awareness to live life better in their own estimation? As difficult as the Enlightenment Intensive can be, there's also the inevitable and incredible lightness of being that many people experience during and after the Enlightenment Intensive. But no Enlightenment Master will claim that an Enlightenment Intensive is without challenges. In fact, the Enlightenment Intensive technique is designed to bring about a challenge, to bring about a crisis. Sometimes the crisis is mental. Sometimes the crisis is emotional. And sometimes it's physical. And yes, there are times that it's a combination of all three. But the Enlightenment technique is also designed to bring one through a crisis, to the yonder shore of enlightenment. As it says in the traditional yogic prayer, from ignorance to wisdom, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. Charles Berner, the originator of the Enlightenment Intensive, he says that the Enlightenment technique is designed to bring about a healing crisis. It's designed to bring about a healing crisis in respect to consciously, directly knowing who you are. He wrote that, quote, "If getting enlightened were an easy thing, any person who had a very much interest in it would easily become enlightened. And then we wouldn't need to bother with doing an Enlightenment Intensive." But, he says, alas, it's not an easy task. And you know, he's right. Throughout history, people have spent their entire lives striving for enlightenment. They've done all sorts of things to achieve it, including fasting and starvation. They've used various forms of emotional and physical austerities, like social isolation, sexual celibacy, and my gosh, all sorts of bodily mutilation. There's no end to the creative and sometimes misguided ways that people throughout history have used various things to become enlightened. And it seems that it's mostly men who've used these crazy things to get enlightened, to find their true self. But Berner notes only a small percentage of them ever experienced enlightenment. The Enlightenment Intensive offers a way that in as little as 3 days, you can experience enlightenment. It's the same kind of enlightenment that Buddha experienced. It may not be as deep, but it's the same kind. It's the same kind of enlightenment that Jesus came to know. The same kind of enlightenment that's been experienced and written about for millennia. But it does come at a cost. The cost is a crisis of letting go of control. The cost is letting go of your suffering. The cost is giving up your preconceived ideas of who and what enlightenment is and who you are. The cost is your willingness to let go of everything you think you are and your willingness to be open and empty. Open and empty as you face the truth of yourself. This is not necessarily an easy task because you have investments in being the way you are. You have a reputation to protect. You want to be seen by others and yourself in a certain way. You may not want to let go of your suffering because you have a vested interest, a lifetime of a vested interest in becoming comfortable with that suffering. And as painful as your suffering may be, to let go of using your suffering as a way to relate with others, it's frightening. It may be frightening, but at least you know you're suffering. If you let go of being the way you have been, what then? It's the unknown. And the unknown can be very, very scary. This is your crisis. The crisis of letting go of what you know to be yourself. And this is the cost of your enlightenment. Thank you for listening.
Enlightenment, don't know what it is.